Alrighty, what's up, Jack? It is week one, even though they played college football last week. It's officially week one this week. How we doing, man?
Doing good. Going to try to recover from last week. Florida State kind of sold for me, but new week, new me. So we got some good stuff in store.
Well, I was going to say, the whole point of doing this is just to get better. So SMU, you went 1-2 last week. Would you have bet differently after watching the games? Did you feel like it was a little bit unlucky? Were you on the wrong side of it? Specifically the Florida State-Georgia Tech game, because from the outside looking in, Florida State looked terrible. If they were going to play again this week, would you still take Florida State, or what's your analysis of that game?
No, I don't think I would have taken either spread, honestly. There's two spreads that I missed. I feel like I was overly confident in those two teams. And what's interesting is both of those teams, like obviously Florida State's playing in Ireland, and really I just don't think their quarterback play was as good as I had hoped it would be. And I think that's something I'm taking into consideration the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So SMU kind of the same way. They were on the road actually, and so home dogs usually end up covering, and so that was something I probably should have considered a little bit more.
Yeah, it's the FSU. They went up 8-0, and then after that, it was all Georgia Tech. So, all right, you did hit the under with the SMU Nevada game. So, like I said, it was 1-2. This is the first full week, and the first week in anything. Look, it's the beginning. It's hard to predict. It's hard to predict in the middle of the year anyway. But specifically this week, college football. Where are we starting? Is there little games that you're looking at? Is it the big games? Like the games that jump out is Georgia, Clemson, Miami, Florida, Texas A&M, Notre Dame. Is that where your head's at, or are there some smaller games? Do you see value? Talk to me.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to look at both. Both of my plays today were on, or I guess today is Thursday. So, yeah, both of my plays today were on games where there wasn't a ranked team playing, but probably the two most competitive and most watched games of the evening. But Friday and Saturday, I'll definitely be looking at a variation of ones. I have my eye on that Texas CSU game. I kind of like the underdog there. Going to do a little bit more research and really solidify my pick, but I'm kind of leaning towards that CSU plus 32 number there. I'm really liking these home dogs, especially early in the season against teams with new quarterbacks, which that would be Texas A&M. Texas A&M is favored, but they're not favored at the same time. In the books they're favored, but in anybody else's mind they should lose to a top 10 Notre Dame team. But
yeah, it's always it's a red flag, right? It's like a gambling 101 when you see the bigger the higher ranked team, in this case Notre Dame, they're preseason number 7, I believe. A&M's number 20, but A&M's favored. Now the home field advantage, I guess you could argue, you'd probably know better than me, but College Station's top 5, right? Like Texas A&M, tough place to play.
Yes. And Riley Leonard, the transfer quarterback for Notre Dame, he's never played in an environment like that. He went to Duke. Going to Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans travel, but not to College Station. They don't. So that is going to be a loud environment on Saturday night.
What's Texas A&M? Because nobody wants to bet on them anymore. They keep screwing everybody over. Every future bet has gone the wrong way for the past, we'll call it the Jimbo Fisher era, right? Didn't he beat Alabama when he first got there? And then ever since then, it's just been downhill.
Yeah, with Johnny Football. Yeah, they have a new coach, Mike Elko. He's there. I think he was from Duke, actually. So they actually fired Jimbo Fisher last year, paid him a ridiculous sum of money.
He has the best job in America.
Yeah, he's got to be top to do nothing. It's amazing. But new coach, solid quarterback prospect. Hunter Wiegman is their starter. They're the world's best 7-5, 8-4 team, and I think they get one. And I think they get one pretty handily the first game of the season here.
So we talked about this in previous podcasts. Doesn't necessarily mean Notre Dame can't make the playoffs. Where are you at with future bets on Notre Dame? If I told you had to bet for them to either make the playoffs or not make the playoffs, you have them losing week 1 here. What's the outlook on Notre Dame?
Yeah, so, I mean, if you remember, one of my 7 preseason bets was Notre Dame less than 10 losses or right. Less than 10 wins. I think the line was 10 on the dot. So for me to hit, I would need 9 wins or less. I don't think they make the playoff. I think they are the team in the top 10 that finishes the season unranked. They have a good shot at losing against USC later in the year. Their schedule, they play a bunch of very solid teams that are coming in unranked. And I think they go 9-3 at best.
So we're in full disclosure, we're recording this Thursday night as Colorado's finding a way. Every single media person's dying for Dion to lose tonight. I don't know where do you think the public's at? Like, quick side note here on this Colorado, they're down by 6 right now as the first half's winding down. Unless they do something, they'd already go to it's about to go to halftime, but they can't. You wouldn't be able to tell which team was the Division I team. Like, they're running shotgun nonsense on 4th and 1 instead of just like running it up the middle, or they have no confidence, no swagger besides Travis Hunter making a great play. And I guess they did get a big bomb earlier. But anyway, what's the sentiment on Colorado? You think most people are rooting for them to lose?
I think it's a pretty solid mix. I think there's a lot of people that love Dion and are like full on the hype train. I mean, CU's a reality TV show football team. So people love reality TV shows. People hate reality TV shows. So if you love it, you love it. If you hate it, you hate it. Personally, I'm from Colorado, and I find myself in the middle sometimes, but right now I'm kind of a hater. So
I can't stand it. I don't want this to work. It shouldn't work. There's too many stories that come out. I don't like the way he treats people. I don't like the condescending. To me, when you're selling religion, I'm automatically out. Like, just 1,000% out. And that's what it feels like he's doing. You can be passionate about your beliefs, but when it feels like you're selling it to me as an excuse to not talk, he's really frustrated now that I guess I'm in the content media world. But anyway, they're struggling. Where were we? I just went full blown. Okay, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. You like A&M to beat Notre Dame. That's a late game, 7:30 East Coast. It'd be a crazy environment. The early game, I know you have an opinion on this. Georgia's playing Clemson. When they play in Atlanta, do you guys all go down there? I know you're not there anymore, but for those 4 years you were, do you guys all go down there? Is it 90% Georgia?
Yeah, so I went to Georgia Clemson 2 years ago. I want to say it was 2 years ago. It might have been 3, actually. It was in Charlotte, and it was a pretty even split. Like, I would say it was 60-40, 50-50-ish, maybe a little in favor of the Dogs, but pretty solid split. Same deal here. Georgia fans travel to Atlanta, but Clemson fans also travel to Atlanta. So there's a big alumni base of Clemson alums in Atlanta and in that kind of area. So it's not really going to be a home game for Georgia, I would say.
Is that 13.5 over? Is that too many points?
With that being said, I don't think it's too many points. I think this is a line that they nailed, and really it's because Clemson hasn't proved themselves in many years, and they're returning the same quarterback who still hasn't proved himself. He's proven himself to be mediocre, and a mediocre quarterback gets you blown out the door if you're playing the Georgia Bulldogs. So I think that line's kind of on the money. Depends on which Clemson team shows up.
And that's really what we're looking for, because we can sit here and talk about each game and dive into it, but it's like, is there value there? So when it comes to like the lines right there, it's like a stay away. What would be a situation that Clemson can actually win that game? Like, is there a way that you see if we turn it on the fourth quarter and Clemson's winning by 10 points?
Well, I mean, I would say there is definitely a potential of that. Maybe some early jitters from some of the young Georgia guys and some rust that Carson Beck's got to knock off. That's there. The main reason they have a chance to win this game is because they are in the conversation when it comes to talent. Georgia can't just run inside zone 40 times. They can't do that against Clemson because they're too talented and they're too athletic and they're too big. They could do that against Tennessee Tech next week, but Clemson is a different animal. Clemson has the same level of guys. And so that's something important to think about.
Yeah, and Georgia lost their 2 top weapons, so they got to figure out exactly where the ball goes on 3rd and 5. That was my rant the other day. Like, when I'm looking at NFL teams, and it's probably even more prevalent in college football, where the egos can really be there. Like, does everybody agree where the ball should be going on 3rd and 5? Right? Like, is there a hierarchy of like who's the top dog, and is everybody on the same page with that? And Georgia's got to figure that out, right? Like, they lose Bowers, they lose McConkey to the Chargers. Is there a guy that's an NFL talent at running back or receiver this year?
Yeah, Trevor Etienne's the big guy that comes in from Florida. Solid transfer, probably the number one running back transfer, I would say. And he's legit. They have Dominic Lovett out wide, and still one of the best tight end rooms in the country. Yeah, they've lost guys, but Georgia reloads. Georgia and Alabama, these are teams that reload every year, and they're well coached. And these guys that have been sitting behind waiting their turn know how to step up.
What is your thought process? Let's move on to there. Actually, you know what? Before I ask that question, can we dive into Miami, Florida? You're down on Miami. Is it the same feeling with Florida as Texas A&M? It's like one of the toughest places to play. Florida's favored by 2.5. Do you analyze that? Is it a stay away from? I know you're not taking Miami, right? Is it Florida or stay away for you?
I'm not 100% sure there. I haven't looked into that game much. It's going to be very interesting. Yeah, Ben Hill Griffin, one of the hardest places to play in the country too. Probably right there, top 5, top 6, top 7. All those tough SEC schools to play at. Florida's on that list.
Where did you go in the SEC, by the way? What road universities did you go
to? Been to Florida. Obviously, the Georgia-Florida game is not at campuses. It's in Jacksonville, so didn't get to go see a game there, but been there. Been to Knoxville. Been to Vanderbilt. Been to Oxford, been to Tuscaloosa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think that's it that I can think of off the top of my head.
No Baton Rouge?
No, we never played them, so I didn't make it out there. We never played Arkansas, so never made it out to Fayetteville.
All right, on the spot, Colorado's down 6 at halftime. You chasing the game, or are we letting it go? Are they coming back? Where's all the money's got to go in Colorado at this point?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the live bets are pouring in. They're down 6. I think I'm leaving it. I think they're going to stop making stupid mistakes, but North Dakota State isn't going to make any mistakes to let them in the game.
Your analysis of the game was that North Dakota State's going to run the football. They got to be jumping up and down, or it's 20-14. But if they sit on the ball, like if based on what you've seen so far, you think they come out aggressive, or how's this going to play out?
They will not come out aggressive. Colorado will. Shadur
might get
passing.
I completely apologize. Like this is, as we can tell, I'm just getting started here. As we're recording a podcast, it's going to be completely irrelevant when it comes out Saturday morning, as we're talking about Colorado's second half. But anyway, you're on the record for the over in that game. It looks good. Colorado better score a couple touchdowns, or North Dakota State's just going to sit on this game. All right, so this is what I wanted to ask you. I had 2 like philosophical college football questions. Wanted to know where your head's at. As soon as you see a spread like Missouri tonight, Kansas tonight, and there's countless amount of games every Saturday, we'll say over 30 points, right? Anywhere from 30 to 40, 50 points. When you see those lines, do you investigate it leading towards the underdog, investigate it leading towards the favorite, or do you automatically not even investigate those games?
Pretty much what I look at is, does the underdog have a chance of keeping it close at first? Because that's what makes the difference. That, and really, when is this team going to pull their starters? Because that also makes a difference in covering the spread. I mean, Georgia's played Vanderbilt countless times where the game was out of hand 5 minutes in, but they pull their starters early and the backups can't score. And so you don't cover. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing to consider is, really, does this underdog have a shot to keep it close? And so that's why I bring up CSU. CSU returns probably their 3 best players. Their quarterback, Torrey Horton, who's the wide receiver, quarterback's Fowler Nicolosi. And he was one of the guys, both of those guys got offered $600,000 to go to Kansas State. So they're legit. And then safety Jack Howell, the team captain, he's legit too. So that's a team that I have circled saying they could keep up for a quarter or 2. And then maybe it gets out of hand, but they're covering a 4-touchdown spread.
The reason I wanted to ask you that question is, generally speaking, when they had the BCS well, actually, let me just phrase it like this. Now that we're going to have all this nuance to figure out who's the 11th, 12th team, right? And the schedules are all unbalanced. It's very chaotic. Would you say that this year, even more than the past couple of years, teams are going to want to win by 60 points? Because I feel like running up the score is almost necessary. Like, as you're trying to figure out, just throw a hypothetical out there, like Missouri, for example, if they're going to have 2-3 losses at the end of the year, and they want to be able to say, hey, we deserve it over this one-loss ACC team, right? A lot of times those arguments turn into just numbers and point differential. Do you see it that way, or am I overthinking it?
No, I kind of do, and that's part of why I took SMU last week. That was kind of my thought process was this is a team that wants to make the playoff. They're eager. Rhett Lashley is a great coach, and they have a veteran quarterback who wants to take that next step. And I was like, they're going to try to blow Nevada out of the water. They're going to try to win by 60. And they got caught in a dogfight by a team that was sneaky good and that they overlooked. And so that's kind of the spot I'm looking for those 30 to 45 touchdown spreads.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think this college football season is going to be extremely interesting how the coaches play it. So, all right, we'll get all of your picks out. Like I said, we're recording this Thursday night. We'll get all your picks out on Saturday. And just so we're clear, sometimes all your picks will come out in the morning. Sometimes you'll have some picks spread out throughout the afternoon. We'll see. Do you have a take on the Penn State? I'll get you out on this college football question, and then I had an NFL question for you. Penn State, West Virginia. I keep hearing all this buzz about Allard, right? Drew Allard.
Drew Allard. Yeah, he's a pro style, pretty solid prospect. I do have a take.
West Virginia's home, right? Doesn't that fit the home dog again?
Yes, I like West Virginia. They return a quarterback, which that's something that I take very, very into consideration. I consider that a lot more than a lot of other factors. If you're returning a quarterback, your team is not going to be terrible. You're going to be good because he knows the offense. He's comfortable in big moments. And Garrett Green, the quarterback for West Virginia, he is comfortable in those big moments. And their team, I mean, I think it's 8.5. I'm pretty set on taking the underdog there at home. West Virginia is also a hard place to play. And James Franklin and Penn State have not been able to get it done in those tough places to play in the Big Ten. So I like West Virginia, not necessarily outright, but I think they cover a touchdown spread.
Okay, so I thought I was doing one football question, but then I realized we might not record before the Eagles Packers game. So I want to do two football questions. Help me figure this out. This is like the hardest thing for me when it comes to sports betting. When I feel like really strongly about something, but the line makes no sense to me, my ego wants to just say that I'm right. But like I got that like other whisper in my head, like, hey, am I missing something? Is it because the game's in Brazil? I'm just gonna stay away from it most likely as we get closer to it. But to me, the Packers are just a better team than the Eagles. I'm down on the Eagles. I have them missing the playoffs. I have them under their wins. This particular game just feels like I don't want to bet it. But can you talk me out of the Eagles being bad this year? I'm like fading the Eagles in every single direction, but yet they're favored by 2.5 in this game when everybody loves the Packers. And as I listen to everybody give their predictions, I don't know, like just a rough guess. I feel like I consume a lot of content, so I would say 80 to 90% of the picks coming in are the Eagles to win the division, not the Cowboys, which I get. The Cowboys are, they've had a tricky offseason, but I see this Eagles team just imploding. Are you with me, or can you talk me out of this?
That's a game I'm staying away from. I think those foreign games, like realistically, you don't really have to factor in travel, but when you're flying to Brazil, you have to factor in travel. And there's no way to like accurately do that because it plays such a big role.
It's the first game ever in Brazil, isn't it?
I think that's right. Yes, but that's such a long time. And like there's two ways to look at it. One, you don't get there early enough. You don't get out there early enough and you have problems getting acclimated. The other is you get out there too early and then you're there for too long.
I don't get the far.
You're like, fuck, I just want to go home. So that's something. Those are two things that you have to consider.
You also just made me. First, give me your thoughts on the Eagles for the season, though. Are you betting over under 11 wins, and would you bet for them to win the division?
I mean, with CD signed now, probably not. I don't think I have confidence in them to win the division. I think they're a fringe playoff team. Jalen Hurts, great leader. Talent isn't there all the time. Skill isn't there all the time, but he's a great leader. They have a pretty solid coach, and they have a very solid defense with a lot of guys that got a lot of experience last year, a lot of Georgia guys especially. And so they're going to be they're going to be solid. They're going to be a team that can beat you, and they're going to be a team that can implode on themselves. So I think they're a stay away team for me. I really do like the Packers a lot this year, though.
Last thought on that Eagles-Packers game just kind of hit me as we were talking. I'm going to venture to say 70% Eagles fans. Just feels like a Philadelphia, like, I don't know, more money for Philadelphia fans. Feels like a trip that Philadelphia fans would take. Packers weren't super enthusiastic about it when they found out they were going to Brazil. I don't know if you remember reading that, but they were like, we don't want to, like, this doesn't sound fun to us. So I'm staying away from it. Down on the Eagles. All right, so this is what I wanted to ask you. Obviously, I'm a diehard Ravens fan, so I need everybody I talk to is pretty much a Ravens fan. So we need some outside perspective here. Chiefs are -3, over-unders 46.5. We're going to record, because the game is going to be going on. So we'll record either right before the game or we'll record Friday next week. Give me your thoughts, though, if you can. I know I'm not going to box you into a bet unless you've already locked it in because we still have a week to go. But what are your thoughts here on the Ravens for the season, and how do you see the first game playing out with the caveat that the Chiefs looked terrible against the Lions in this spot last year? The under hit and the Lions won outright. So can you talk me into that? Is that what the Ravens are going to do? 17-6, 17-9, dominate them?
I kind of see it the other way. I mean, if I was going to take a total, haven't really decided yet. I probably would go the over. I think Todd Monken, the OC for the Ravens, he called a piss poor game.
Thank you. Thanks for the breaking news. We nobody.
Piss poor. But he's a Georgia guy, and so I watched him.
Did he ever do that? Sorry to interrupt you, but did he ever have a game like that during your guys' run in Georgia where everybody just hated him after the game?
No, I mean the 2 years that I remember him, he lost one game, and
he just overthought it, right? Like it's just like his brain.
Yeah. On that point, he is going to come back and he's going to make adjustments because he is probably one of the best OCs in the National Football League. And so with that and Derrick Henry, I think the Ravens are maybe the team to beat in the AFC this year. I'm very high on the Ravens.
So you think the offense comes out and actually, if anything, the Chiefs are going to have to score 30 points to beat us?
Yes, exactly. And it's not anything against that front four, front seven, whatever you want to call it for Kansas City. It's more just how talented and how good of a scheme you guys run that fits the players. And that's something to be scared of if you don't have like legit guys on your front four, which the only guys I can really think of are Jones and Karlaftis.
If you took away, now I'm just curious, if we took away money for a second, keep the age, but just took away money, for the next 5 years, you don't know who else is on your team. How many guys do you take before you take Lamar?
That's a good question. Next 5 years, taking Mahomes. This might be a hot take. I'm taking Jordan Love.
Wow, that is a hot freaking take. What kind of take is that? There you go. The whole thing's just shut off on you as you said that. I think I did it on purpose. All right, well, I hope you come back. Not, I guess that'll be your punishment for saying that you thought